Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm MoxRuby, MoxReuby, on the internet. I've been making Magic content for more than 10 years, and I've been making D&D content for about 3 years. I used to do a show for Wizards of the Coast called The Broken Pact, which was the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica show on D&D. And we also traveled to Avernus and to Theros, and we did some fun stuff there. And I've done a lot of other unofficial official D&D, but not with Wizards of the Coast content. I was the dungeon master for the most recent season of Tales from Tetheria on Lasercorn's YouTube channel, if you guys are familiar with Smosh. So yeah.
All right, let's start at the top. Airball?
I've been making Magic content for about 6 months, and I've been making D&D content for about 5 minutes. And you can find me over at AirballMTG on YouTube and Twitch.
All right, Covertgogina?
Hey, I'm Covertgogina. I am now known as the one for the one in Best of One, but I also stream. Mostly Animal Crossing, but I'm going to start playing Magic online soon too.
That is an adorable name, and I'm so upset that this is the first time I've heard that. I really appreciate it. That was awesome. CGB?
Hi, I'm Covertgoblue. I play MTG Arena daily on YouTube. Just search YouTube for Covertgoblue. You can also find me occasionally on Twitch. I've never really played Dungeons and Dragons before, but we're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so
that's fine.
I'm Nerdgirl. I've played some casual D&D. I've played hundreds of hours, if not 1,000+ hours of D&D, but always very casual. Nobody's ever been very net decky. We always roll level 1 characters and start over by the time we're level 5. That sort of group where, we have the basic player handbook and that's kind of it. But we were always happy with that. So I am hoping to learn some new stuff today, but also I know I have 3 people who've never played, so it should be a nice, easy, gentle start, so I'm not too worried. And you guys can find me doing a lot of Magic content on Mtgnerdgirl on all platforms. Okay, so I did brief everybody with the idea of what we were doing as far as the show, plane shifting and all of that. So plane walking, whatever. But MoxRuby, if you would like to kind of give us a deeper idea of your thoughts on the storyline moving forward, and then we can start to develop what kind of party makeup we want as far as classes, races, and also what planes we want to be on. So take it away.
Right. Sure. So my concept for the overarching story is that you all are plane jumpers. You are people who are essentially hired by, probably not paid, but sort of enlisted by planeswalkers that we all know and love to do jobs on various planes. And because you are plucky young adventurers, a lot of those jobs are things that the planeswalkers themselves don't necessarily have the time to do or the bandwidth to do. And we are going to essentially be following around the Magic story as it travels by set. So we'll start in Kamigawa because that's where we are right now. And then next we'll do a job in New Capenna, and then we'll go back to Dominaria as the year progresses if we decide to keep playing this here campaign. And that will allow us to do a couple of things. One, it allows me to tell a fun story and touch on some perhaps lore that we didn't get to explore in the cards but exists in the world. And B, it lets you guys change your characters if you want to. If you aren't vibing with the character that you thought you might, well, you can change characters when we go to a new plane. Very easy to do that. As you guys are all pretty new, we're just going to do a pretty standard, bunch of stuff. I'm much more into the story rather than the nitty gritty especially when it comes to watching D&D. I mean, I like doing the min-maxy stuff, but that's not really fun to watch. So I want to tell a story with you guys primarily and play D&D with you if that works. But the story is going to be the most important part.
Okay, I have no idea where to start with min-maxing, so I think we'll be fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Agreed. I don't think min-maxing will be too much of a problem because, again, we are all reasonably new.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any questions about, the overall plan of the game as far as like shifting around, being a sort of unknown / non-main character planeswalker?
I don't think so. I'm still stuck on the idea that we can net deck. Like you mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I know.
That sounds. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, yeah, it's fine. This is fine.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and kind of jump in and take the lead because I think some of the other players, like I said, still need to kind of get their feet wet. So I had a little bit of an idea. Now, we don't need to be from Kamigawa to start. Our planeswalker can come in from anywhere to do this job. So one of the things I thought would be really cool, and the way I would like to progress my character, is I would like to be from New Capenna. And the reason for this is because, A, we're going to go there next, but also I thought it would be really cool for future storyline is that when we do go to New Capenna, I already have these like mob ties, and we can build some cool stuff around that moving forward. So that's kind of where my head is at. I think I'm going to be this sort of like mobstery type character that wants to like break people's kneecaps. And then when we go to New Capenna, maybe we accidentally like upset a rival gang or something, or I don't know. There's a lot we can do there, I think.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. I love that idea. So certainly you can be from New Capenna. We don't have a ton of knowledge exactly of the locations, but like you said, brass knuckles, breaking kneecaps, smoky alleyways, we get the vibe. Did you have a thought on more D&D race or class or feats or flavor that you were thinking about?
So for me, because even though you were the DM, I still consider these three my players as well, because it is my show. So I was going to let them choose and fill in the blanks wherever we thought the party needed.
Great.
All right, so let's go to the top. Airball, do you have an idea of, you don't need to talk about playing or idea, because again, we're just kind of throwing you into it, but what type of characters do you like to play if you play any sort of MMO or Diablo or something style game? Do you have a class that you prefer?
I was thinking something along the lines of like a Lieutenant Data kind of character that fits Kamigawa well, I think, like an android with, no emotions, trying to be more human, but also like super intelligent, but not the leader. And I'm kind of leaning on you to pick the classes for me based on that.
Sure. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Silly Trekkies.
Yeah. If that sounds like fun for you to play, there's a lot of great options for a calculator person. And of course, any plane. I mean, would you like to be from Kamigawa?
Sure, why not?
Okay. We'll pencil in Kamigawa for now. So a couple of races to consider would be the Vidalcan, who are from Ravnica and other planes of existence. They behave very computer-like calculator people. They are not made of machines, but they behave in that sort of way. More Spock, less Data, I suppose. You might also be interested in playing a Warforged, who is literally a machine person, created originally on the plane of Eberron, which is a D&D location. They are machines made for war and given sentience, and then the war ended. And so they sort of didn't really have a direction after that, a lot of them. And that's an interesting motif to toy with as well. Both of those are possibilities here. I'll try to think of some other options in terms of race. As for class, being a knowledge person, you could be a wizard. You could be a bard. It depends on like what archetype you're looking for as it pertains to knowledge, really.
That sounds very philosophical. What is an archetype as it pertains to knowledge?
Sure. This is a good place to go into what the 5 stats are, or the 6 stats are in Dungeons & Dragons. There are 3 mental stats and there's 3 physical stats. The mental stats are charisma, intelligence, and wisdom. Intelligence is how smart you are. Wizards use intelligence. Artificers use intelligence. That's another possibility for your concept. They are history nerds, book nerds, math nerds. They are smart in the way that we think of as smart. Wisdom is the skill used more for street smarts, perception, insight, even lying to people, a little bit of deception. And that allows you to have deeper insight into motivations and the ticking that happens inside of people rather than straight up facts in books.
Okay.
And
Let's
the classes
stick with, sorry.
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna short circuit that and say let's go with the robot artificer.
Artificer, I love it. So Warforged Artificer from Kamigawa. I love it. So artificers, I will warn you, are very complicated, but we'll work through it together. Because they don't have to be super complicated because we're telling a story, right?
Great.
So artificers do a lot of tinkering. They do a lot of building. They do a lot of setting traps and turning things on and off and stuff like that. So as we build your Warforged Artificer, we can sort of develop more along the lines of, I want to do this rather than this is the thing I'm doing within the rules of the game. And then I can translate anything you guys want to do into the rules.
Great.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. I was going to try to do a bit of a split show between character building, and then we're going to actually get the characters made here on the D&D Beyond website, and then that will be our first episode. So what were you possibly thinking, Covertgogina?
Well, I had two ideas. Maybe you guys could help me narrow it down. My first instinct was, I should be from a Johnny's plane and be some sort of a cat person. That sounds fun. But then I kind of also started thinking about Ikoria, which is, I think, where a lot of the characters are from my commander deck. And I thought about Luca and his ability to bond with animals. And I saw, oh, that's not just unique to him. Other people do that too from that plane. So then I was like, oh, I could just bond with animals all the time and that would be fun. But I didn't know if that would bring in a weird element of like, oh no, my animal in danger, bad feelings, or like using animals to fight for me. And I kind of would rather like, hey, let's be on the same page about this. And hey, do you support me in this moment? Or I don't know, something that isn't like, oh, animals are my slaves now. That sounds bad. I don't like that.
No, that's not how it's flavored in D&D. So both Alara, which is where Ajani is originally from, and Ikoria are great options for being for where you want to be from. There is a Leonin race option that exists in D&D. They created it for the Theros book. And as for being more connected to animals, both Ranger and Druid have connections that I could see. Rangers have animal companions often, not always, but often, and have a connection to a favored type of location like forests or plains. And they also often are very good military combatant fighters. I would put their complexity at pretty simple, usually, treading on moderate. The other option, of course, being Druid, which is more of a spell casting class. You can turn into animals, and you can speak with animals, and you're much more in touch with the rhythm of the wild, as it were. They're a little bit more complicated, but don't let that frighten you. Both of those are good options, and you can talk to animals with both of those.
They both sound so good. This is a really hard choice. CGB, what do you think?
I think that you ask me what I think a lot.
There you go. Well, I'll let you ponder that.
Okay.
Maybe I could also add one. How about the fighting style? How does one fight compared to the other? Will she want to be on the front lines, maybe with a bow and arrow, or do you want to like be a spellcaster? Those are a little bit separate sides of druid / ranger, I think. Maybe that might help you make a decision if you have a preference on that sort of thing.
Oh, I like both so much. But
so when he
said
Ranger,
I could turn into an animal, that seemed like I suddenly could do all the things I was trying to do with my character.
Right. So when you think Ranger, think Viggo Mortensen, Lord of the Rings, right? Mm-hmm. Or Legolas, Lord of the Rings, honestly. You can shoot a bow really well, you can fight really well, but it is much more of a melee class. You do have some spells, they're called half-casters, eventually as you level up, but primarily you are a fighter type of archetype, dealing lots of damage. Druid can kind of do everything. Druid can turn into animals and be a fighty animal, or they can turn into an animal and do some scouting, or they can not turn into an animal and heal people, or they can not turn into an animal and throw, spikes at people. Druids have so many possibilities with what they can possibly do.
Okay, let's get magical. I want all of that.
Great.
All right. So did we decide Airball was a wizard?
Artificer.
Okay.
I think is where we ended up with on Airball.
And then we've got a druid.
Yep.
Right.
And both Artificer and Druid have access to a wide myriad of stuff. So you're not going to be hurting for healing spells, for example. You're not going to be hurting for knowledge, right? So it seems like you've got some pretty good jack-of-all-trades type characters already.
Okay. CGB, what were you thinking?
I have had a lot of trouble getting imagination in gear for this. So I've mostly thought about it in terms of like my favorite magic colors and guilds, I guess.
Let's do that.
Yeah. So I'm definitely in like the Esper color pie somewhere in there. Blue-white is usually my favorite guild, I would tell people. But I've also got a dark side, so a little blue-black from time to time. But I also don't want to be afraid to fight. Like I'm also a bit of a fighter at heart. I'm not afraid to battle for things. I want to be somebody who battles for things when stuff goes down.
Sounds like Dimir Rogues to me.
Yeah,
maybe.
The other thing too is you played a lot of the failed Magic D&D or failed Magic Diablo game. What classes did you enjoy playing in that game? Because you'll have very similar type abilities. Did you get up in close and personal melee range, or were you more of a spellcaster? Maybe that can give you some direction.
I played the blue mage like the whole time. The mono blue wizard. It was mostly for content though, I thought, because I would just run in the corner and like cast my spells and laugh at people who had to go in there and fight.
You could totally do that here.
I know, but I don't want to be afraid to fight. I like fighting too.
So let's go through a bunch of options here. Blue mage. Sounds like you're interested in using magic even if you're up close and personal. Mm-hmm. Wizard is always an option. I have played combat wizards. It's possible to play a combat wizard. When Gandalf gets in a fight, he pulls out a sword. It's possible to play a combat wizard. So don't let that frighten you from pulling that option out. Another interesting possible archetype here, Dimir Rogues. There is a subclass of rogue later on when you level up and get into subclasses that is called the Arcane Trickster. The Arcane Trickster is a rogue that uses magic to help with their rogueness, right? So that's looking a little bit more forward, and all of the non-magical classes have sort of magical archetypes that you can dip into, right? If you play a monk, you can be a sort of magical monk. If you play a fighter, there are ways to be a sort of more magical fighter. It sounds to me, as a blue mage, that you're more, especially as an Azorius mage, that you want to be more about battlefield control. And if you want to get in there and mix it up and fight, honestly, cleric. Clerics are heavy armored, get in there casters. People hear cleric and they think healing. Clerics don't heal. Life clerics heal. They have access to healing. Forge clerics fight. Like, that's all they do. Life clerics heal. They're very good at that. Light clerics can cast fireball. Like, you can just like go ham with cleric. So that would be another direction that I would say that you could go.
I like rogue the best. It sounds the
Rogue
best
the
to
best.
me.
All right.
Yeah.
Class, I'm going to pencil in rogue. So you're going to start out sneaky. And then when you get up into your subclass, we can talk about that later.
That's good. That works.
Yeah, rogues can output a lot of damage too. So
Okay.
pretty good.
So that leaves me.
Yes.
So what goes well with the sort of break your kneecaps kind of character, which I fully intend to play. Originally, I was thinking sort of like a ranger class, more melee short sword type ranger, because they're quick and agile, and also like I can see that sort of class like bullying somebody in an alley, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like we might need something a little bit more heavy duty, because we have two sort of like castery type casters and then a rogue. So maybe am I the enforcer melee cleric? Like the not healing cleric, but just the full armor enforcer. That could be a possibility. Or also we could do like a enforcer barbarian. That would be pretty fun. Originally I was going to be the sneakier mobster, but not sneaky is not the right word, but the more finesse mobster. But I don't know. What do you guys think? What do we need?
So looking at your list so far, rogue, druid, artificer, I see 2 holes that need filled. And before I tell you what those holes are, I want to tell you, party balance is bullshit. It doesn't matter. Play the character you want to play. I will tell the story so that your characters can do the things that they want to do. You don't need to be balanced. I will present you with challenges, and then you'll figure out how to solve them, right? But if you're interested in playing that break your kneecaps, look at the art for the card Alley Grifters from Mercadian Masks. You want to play that big, beefy, guy that, like when Danny Ocean gets thrown into the hold and the big giant dude punches him, or fake punches him. Spoiler alert for Ocean's 11. That can be a whole manner of things. You can be a fighter. Fighter is a class. You can be a paladin. We could come up with an interesting paladin concept here. You can be a barbarian, as you mentioned. The holes that I see that need filled are tank. You're right. So you guys do need someone to mix it up and be the target as opposed to dealing damage. Because rogues are very good at dealing damage. The druid can be the tank, but that depends on your play style. The artificer can be the tank. It depends on the play style. And the other thing that you don't really have yet is a party face. You don't have somebody to talk to people yet. You don't have any charismatic individuals just yet. And so Paladin, I think, is an interesting idea for perhaps your concept. If you want to be a darker Paladin that is oath-sworn to something perhaps a bit more nefarious.
Okay, so instead of being the more finesse style mobster like I was planning, let's go ahead and shift it where I will be an enforcer from the plane of Capenna, where I am a dark paladin that will take the hits and also sort of be that sort of face as well, not scared to get my hands dirty.
I love it. Great. So I have Kamigawa Warforged Artificer for Airball. Now you've had a few minutes to noodle on that. How does that? You don't feel like you have to be locked into that concept. We're here to spitball.
If you can carry me through the complexity, I'm fine with that.
Great. I can absolutely do that.
One of the things you could do too, which I could recommend, is you could just do something a little bit more simple, and then we can kill your character off going into the next plane, and then you could do that if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by that. Because like, I have no idea what any of those things mean. I've played hundreds of hours of D&D, so that would be a much more deep dive. If you wanted to just be a human wizard, learn how to play, get your feet wet, we will kill that person off, and you can be a warforged whatever.
I don't know what any of those things mean either. I've known Ruben for 20 minutes and I trust him with my life. So if you can help me, then that's great. Otherwise, I'm fine going to wizard. It's whatever the group thinks is better.
I like robot. We're going full robot for Kamigawa. I love it. We'll do it all together and it'll be fine. But then we can also kill you off and turn you into a wizard later. So, Gina, I see Leonin Druid. How does that sound?
Yes? Wait, does this mean I already look like a cat person?
You would be a cat person. You'd be a lion person who is a druid.
Okay. Yes. All right.
And Alara or Ikoria are both on my list here.
Let's do Ikoria.
Okay. Leonin from Ikoria. Now, the other way that we could do this is perhaps you were like born in Alara, right? Because I think that I don't know if Leonin are native to Ikoria, but you could have been like grown up, or you could have been born in Alara and grown up in Ikoria, is how we can, sort of flavor that. So you can sort of be from both, right?
Again, you're speaking my language and letting me do all the things I wanted to do. So that's fine.
That's my job as the dungeon master. Nerd Girl, I see Paladin, which is dope, from Capenna, which is also dope. Do you have a race in mind?
I think I'll just be a plain human.
Plain old human.
If I remember correctly, there's an extra feat in there, which is pretty good for Paladin. And also, like, I think human, also being an enforcer, I feel like human for hire, because we don't know what sort of mob type, if there's going to be like a race mob war, whatever. I feel like human's more neutral, so I can kind of pick and choose storyline wise and fit me in however that fits.
Yeah, definitely as the party face, you want to, it's tough to be a lion person and just walk into Whole Foods. You know what I mean? tough to be a robot and just totally be like fine in the checkout line at IKEA. So if you're the party face, that also makes a ton of sense. Personally, I love playing humans. They're my favorite D&D race to play because everything else is so weird. I might as well just be a human.
Sounds good.
CGB, I see Rogue.
That's all we got? Okay.
That's what we got. So it sounded like you like Ravnica a lot, if you wanted to try Ravnica.
Ravnica's pretty cool. I was also just like Dominaria's. I'm kind of old school. I was around way early in Magic, so Dominaria has a nice ring for me.
And we are also going back to Dominaria, so that works well. Let's do Dominaria.
Sweet.
And now that we have know where we're from and what our job is, do you have any thoughts on what race you'd like to be?
I don't know. I just always thought of it as human, I guess. Very boring that way.
It's not boring.
I don't really. Yeah, high five. Cool.
Yeah. So we'll put human down. Dominaria also has let's see, elves, goblins, merfolk people, but primarily it's humans.
Okay.
Looks great. I love this list so far. So human paladin, human rogue, Leonin druid, warforged artificer is an excellent party.
Yay, we got a party.
Yay.
Did the thing!
Not gonna lie, I'm in love with my enforcer dark paladin. Like, this is gonna be great.
Nice. Yeah. And especially when we get to the subclasses and you can sort of hone in on exactly what your character's, whole deal is, you'll be like, yes, that is what I am. This is the character that I've always envisioned it to be. And now the dice and the rules are helping me tell that story.
Is there a feat that says kneecap breaker? because that's where we're at.
Sure, let's take a look at some D&D Beyond stuff. So, for those of you that never use D&D Beyond is the official tool set for Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition tool set for Dungeons & Dragons. It makes it very easy for you to make a character, to use that character sheet online and keep track of all the things that you need. You are by no means required to use D&D Beyond. If you want to use pen and paper, use pen and paper. If you want to keep track of your I still keep track of my hit points on a note card next to my computer. I just use D&D Beyond to like look up rules and you know how much bonus I get to stuff, because it does that math for you, which is very nice. So if you think we're ready to make a character,
I think so.
Great. Go ahead and go to the character builder on D&D Beyond. I see Nerdgirl has it up already. Go ahead and click the check mark that says that you're a beginner and you need some help, and then click the standard build button. And we can all do this together if you want to, or I can, if anyone wants to do it later, feel free, but I just want to, you know, any questions you have, by the way, feel free to interrupt at any time.
I think building our character step by step together, especially because, you know, each class has very specific needs as far as where they want their points to be, as far as intellect or strength, things like that. So we can kind of walk everybody through each of those segments of your character and help you build it.
Great. So the first page is just a little bit of a read on how to build a character, how to create a new PC, new player character for yourself. We don't have to read that right now. Read it in your own time. The first page that will have options will be the next page. It'll tell you to name your character, and you can change the name later. I would say just Degens and Dragons character for now, and then you can work on a name later if you want to do that. Underneath your character preferences, go ahead and just pick everything. All of the sources you can pull from. If you want to pull a Rick and Morty spell, pull up a Rick and Morty spell. That's fine. But you can turn on homebrew content, and you can turn on non-core D&D content as well. So all of that is allowed if you have those options.
What's Eberron? That was highlighted.
Yes.
Like, to start with, what's that?
So Eberron is a plane of existence outside of a lot of the core D&D rules. It had its own book expansion last year called Eberron: Rising from the Last War. It is a D&D plane in much the same way that, you know, Ikoria is a magic plane.
Okay, should we all leave it on?
Yeah, turn it all on.
Okay, turn it all on. Okay.
Turn it all on.
All right.
The other thing about Eberron content is that there's a lot more tech-related stuff. So there's a spell called On-Off, for example, that is Eberron content, right? And so definitely want to have access to that, particularly with your concept. Go ahead and turn on dice rolling. That seems fine. We don't need, I mean, it depends on if you want to roll dice, but having it on doesn't hurt. The optional features are a little bit complicated. I would recommend leaving those off, optional class features and customize your origin. For our purposes, they just give you more freedom, but because it gives you more freedom and so many more options, I don't want to overload you with options. Leaving those off leaves us, it will not make you dizzy, basically. For the advancement type, we're going to go with milestone.
Okay.
We are not going to use XP in a traditional sense. We're just going to level up when we want to level up.
What's an example of a milestone?
An example of a milestone would be you reached a checkpoint. It's sort of story-based. It's as the dungeon master, I decide when everyone levels up, as opposed to numerical value. You got 1,000 XP for killing this giant pig. You got 1,500 XP for killing this, gang leader. And so now you level up. Instead of doing that, we're just going to say, you want to fight, you level up, right? You found the MacGuffin, we're going to level up again.
More story-based leveling versus actually like, oh, well, this fight seems too hard. Let's go kill 1,000 pigs or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Or cats and alleys.
Yeah. It is also just less math for everyone to have to deal with. If I just say, this is when we're leveling up.
Okay.
And speaking of less math, hit point type, fixed. We're going to do fixed hit points because that's just less dice we have to roll.
Okay.
Prerequisites for feats. I'm tempted to turn off prerequisites for feats just to let you guys have options. And I don't think it's going to be super relevant. So I would say you can turn off prerequisites for feats, and we're not multi-classing yet, but we don't need to have that on either. We can leave that off.
Okay.
Level scaled spells. What that means is when you get a spell and you are able to cast it at a higher level, then it will show you the possibility of doing that in your D&D Beyond. So for example, Fireball is a 3rd level spell in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. When you reach like 8th level, you could cast Fireball as a 4th level spell, which would just add additional damage to it. What this means is it'll show you 3rd level Fireball, and it'll show you the option of using a 4th level spell slot. It's nice to have the option to just know that you can cast things at higher level, but it can also be like, I've got too many things on my spell list. So I'll leave that up to you. I tend to leave it on just so that I know that I can do the thing, but that's up to you.
I think we leave it on, especially because we're starting from level 1, so it won't be like a thing that's overwhelming us right now, and it will come up later as we hit higher levels, and by then you'll have all of your current character abilities down pat, and it won't be a huge jarring thing to have too much information.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of too much information, ignore coin weight, no encumbrance, because encumbrance is stupid.
So turn off encumbrance.
Yeah,
no
turn off encumbrance,
okay.
ignore coin weight.
Okay.
It's good for like an overland travel kind of campaign, resource management kind of campaign, which can be fun. Doesn't make for a great stream show.
Multiverse credit card, baby.
That's right.
We don't need it.
Yeah.
We got the most powerful card in the multiverse, the credit card.
Amazing. So ability scores display. Depends on how you like to do it. Do you like to have your scores up top, or you like your modifiers up top? Do you like your number, the big number to be 16 and the small number to be +3? Or do you like the big number to be +3 and the small number to be 16? That makes sense. I like the modifiers because that is easier for me. Like I don't use the scores. So I just am like, here's my D20 roll. How much do I add? My strength is +2. Great. I add +2. Some people like the scores just because it, number go up. But that is a ongoing debate amongst D&D players as to which they prefer. But that's a personal preference thing.
I'm doing modifier up top.
I guess I will too. I have no idea what this is going to mean, but we'll find out.
When you look at your character sheet, you can always come back and change it. When you look at your character sheet, it will make sense, and I'll point it out for you. And then public as for character privacy, just so that I can come in and look at your stuff. I think I probably still can as the DM, but it's just, that's not really super relevant.
Okay.
The next page describes your race, or describes what a race is in Dungeons & Dragons. We decided to go with the original race rules for Dungeons & Dragons, which is not the optional racial features. Recently, Dungeons & Dragons went and allowed the optional race features to be an option. And this is a good switch from away from a time in which, Dungeons and Dragons was not exactly culturally sensitive, even recently. So this is a good switch. However, the way that 5th edition was built was with this system in mind, and so for our purposes, for simplicity's sake, this is perfectly reasonable. That said, if you think that something doesn't make sense from your character's perspective, for example, as a Warforged, if you're like, I'm not exactly sure that my +2 to, I actually don't know what the Warforged get, but +2 to my strength is not really relevant. I would rather have a different thing. Then we can work that out later.
For mine, I see 2 human options.
So for you, because you are going to want a feat, you're going to want variant human.
Got it.
Okay, so we're going with basic rules, and then we choose from there.
Yes.
And did you say that? Okay, she wants variant human. Do I want variant human?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
That allows you to choose a feat at level 1. Feats are optional options in the player's handbook that allows your character to have a specialization basically every 4 levels. Every 4 levels, most classes get an ability score increase, or an ASI, if you've ever heard of an ASI before. And at level 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, instead of an ASI, you can instead choose a feat, which gives you like a specialization. Many feats are like half of an ability score increase, and then they give you something else special. For example, instead of getting a +1 to your dex and a +1 to your constitution, it's just a +1 to your dex, and then you also get plus something to initiative rolls, right? Or, if your feat is, I think the alert feat would be a good example here. So alert is a feat that gives you +1 to your wisdom, and it also means you can't be surprised.
Nice.
So that's an example of a feat, and we'll get to feats when we're continuing to build the characters.
So I don't see Warforge anywhere on the list.
Right.
Iron Race is not here either.
Yes. So the problem is that we have chosen that you guys don't probably certainly don't have the extended rule set. I as a content creator for D&D, they gave me all the things, humble brag. So I have access to Leonin and Warforged on my end, which means that I need to do something to this campaign, which shares my content with you all. I'm in the middle of a character build, so I can't do that right now. But we will get you Leonin and Warforged. But for now, go ahead and pick one of the races that you can see. It is not going to be horrifically relevant right now. We will fix it later.
Will they be able to use the same character and just correct it once they've have access to it?
Yes.
Cool. Story building time. So is there a language? So I get to pick a language for mine, considering I'm going to be from New Capenna and there's a lot of demonic demon gangsters. Is there a language that would fit well with that?
There is. You should choose. So this is one of my things about D&D and Magic, that they've just decided that they don't agree with each other. In Magic, the devils are stupid and the demons are the smart ones. In D&D, it's the other way around. In D&D, the archdevils are the deal makers and the demons are the chaotic ones. So my guess is that it's going to be demons in Magic. Demons in D&D speak Abyssal. Abyssal.
Great.
So that would be the language that you'd want.
As long as that's what you're going to make the mob bosses speak, seems great.
That's what I'll make the mob bosses speak. The language of devils is infernal, which is a different thing. So, but we'll say abyssal for the purposes of your language choice. We're getting into deep D&D lore because I'm a huge nerd.
Does my language matter if I'm going to change my race later?
Probably not, but you can select one. If you have any questions about languages, let me know.
What would Phyrexians speak?
Phyrexians are eldritch kind of horrors, not like Eldrazi. I would say Phyrexians. Interesting.
Phyrexian nonsense is ticking up in the MTG lore. Seems like a good time to get in on some language.
It's a good choice. Let me look at my language list here and see what makes sense to me.
While you're thinking,
So I would.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
I was just going to say I had 2 roles to fill, sort of the face of the party as well as the enforcer. So I'm thinking I have 2 abilities I can increase. I'm thinking charisma and strength.
There you go. Perfect. As a paladin, charisma will be your magical casting class or number. And so that certainly makes a ton of sense. And as a fighter, you definitely want your strength up, assuming you're a brute force fighter. Let's see. I think deep speech is more Eldrazi. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Primordial?
Primordial.
I would not hate Primordial as the Phyrexian option here.
Okay.
Let's go with
I
Primordial.
can do that. I speak Primordial. Sounds cool.
There you go. Perfect.
I speak the Primeval Titan. We get along.
Nice.
In the D&D lore, Primordial is the language of elementals, and often will break down into like water speech and earth speech and fire speech and whatnot, but it doesn't have to be like that. And Primordial just means old. So it seems like the Phyrexians seems like the right place for that.
So I also don't see Artificer as a class.
Yes. I've clicked. So let me just build I'm just going to build your character on my thing for now, just to see if we're missing anything. And then I'll do the Leonin as well. So you got to choose a increase to one of your scores. I'm going to choose intelligence for you as you're trying to be an artificer. And then as a artificer, and I'll write this down for you so that we can fix it later when we have the things up. You have something called specialized design, which gives you a skill proficiency and a tool proficiency of your choosing. What skill do you think that you would like? History, Arcana are both options that you could do. You could also just do animal handling or sleight of hand or nature.
I think we've got Gina for that. Let's do history.
History. So you are proficient in the history skill, and you also are proficient in a tool. When you picture this character crafting or making things, what kind of things do they do? What do they do in their spare time?
Engineering.
Engineering.
Electronics.
Let's give you a tinkerer's tools. Or a smith's tools? What do you think?
Smiths make electronics?
In this world, kind of. Let me see if there's something that fits better.
All right. While you're browsing, I'll share my options. I speak demonic, draconic, or not draconic, demon, basically. Charisma and strength are my ability scores. For skills, intimidation, because every good enforcer needs to intimidate. And for my bonus feat, I pick grappling, because I feel like that's what an enforcer should do.
Nice. Perfect. That is a great combination. So I gave you Tinkerer's tools, so I'll write that down, or I'll keep it in my my thing. And then you would also get to choose one additional language. From Kamigawa, do you have a language in mind?
Oh God, no. What are my choices?
There's dozens. You could speak Celestial, which is the language of the angels. There's Deep Speech, which is the language of eldritch beings. There's Giant. There's Gnomish. There's Goblin. There's Halfling.
I mean, Draconic, right? We
Sure,
have these
Draconic.
big dragon entities, and you're the wizard guy on the plane that has all these epic mythic dragons. I would definitely want to speak Draconic.
You got it.
I love it. Draconic added. You'd also get to choose a proficiency, or sorry, several proficiencies, additional skills, and a tool, an artisan's tool. Since you're already proficient in history, your artificer's proficiencies would be Arcana, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, and Sleight of Hand. You choose two of those.
Investigation.
Okay, you choose two of those 6. Investigation is a great one. And Arcana, Medicine, Nature, Perception, Sleight of Hand.
Perception.
Great. At first level, you get something called... Oh, you also get a tool, sorry. So you get an additional tool. I'm just going to pick something, and then we can figure that out later. And then at first level, you get something called Magical Tinkering, which you'll read up on later. Basically, you get to imbue mundane objects with magical effects.
Okay.
And we'll read up on that later. Should we go and build the Leonin Druid now before we get to ability scores? I think we're going to do that. Let me, really quick, switch over to a Leonin.
Yeah, the nice thing too is we can talk about it now, sort of like we did with Airball, and then later when they have access to it, they can actually just recreate their character, and they can even rewatch the VOD to remember all of the independent things that we picked for their class.
Yep. So your Leonin racial features, you have dark vision, which is nice because cats can see in the dark. You have claws, which means that your unarmed strikes are more effective. And you have hunter's instincts, which means that you can choose proficiency in athletics, intimidation, perception, or survival. It looks like you already have... Oh, no, yeah, you can choose one of those. I'm going to just pencil something in, unless you have a specific preference.
I'm going to say, athletics makes a lot of sense.
Perfect. Athletics is excellent. Now, Druid. And Druid. And then you get additional proficiencies. You get 2 Druid skills. It sounded to me earlier that you really wanted animal handling. But your options are animal handling, Arcana, Insight, Medicine, Nature, Perception, Religion, and Survival. And you get to choose 2 of those.
Okay, definitely the animal handling. Let me see. I don't have the list in front of me.
That's fine. Arcana, which is the knowledge of magical, of non-divine magic. Insight, which is knowing what people are thinking and things like that. Medicine. Nature. Perception, which is picking up on peripheral vision, kind of noticing things. Religion. And survival. Survival is like knowing what herbs do, following footprints, tracking, scouting, things like that.
Survival makes a lot of sense, but so does insight. I think my character would have a lot of empathy.
Mm-hmm. Nature, I thought, might be good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All of
so
those are great options.
tough choice because all of those are very good.
And
like-
you can change it later, but
Yeah, I would suggest, like, think of yourself in the gameplay. Are you going to want to be doing the tracking and stuff like that? Or are you going to want to be more in tune with, like, this plant is good. If we go to this particular area, I can find an animal to work with. That would maybe be more nature-y. So it's more about how you want to play your character and then pick your feat accordingly.
Okay, maybe somebody else will be able to help with insight then, because I was thinking that would kind of be important to the party. But if I do the nature side, then yes, I can find the animals to handle.
great. So we'll put animal handling and nature in for now.
Rogue seems very insightful and noticing things.
Absolutely. So put in your placeholders for now, and I'll get you the Leonin and the Warforged. And we'll handle that at a later time. Now we're going to look at ability scores. Ability scores are really what your character is. It's the meat of your character. It is at this point where I will ask you. I typically like to do standard array just because it's easy, or point buy. Which is also easy. Or we can roll for stats. If you want to do it super random, we can roll for our stats.
What's the difference between the first two?
So standard array means that you get a 15, a 14, a 13, a 12, a 10, and an 8, and you put them where you want them.
You get one of each.
You get one of each. And then the bonuses to your race and your class will add numbers to that as well. But that's where the numbers start. Point buy allows you to customize your scores with a pool of points that allow you to maximize certain skills slightly differently. So you could have 2 15s if you wanted to get that, and some lower numbers as well.
Like Fallout New Vegas style kind of thing.
Yeah.
For my proficiencies, real quick, guys, I have athletics, insight, medicine, and religion, and persuasion. I'm kind of feeling persuasion and athletics, because as an enforcer, I feel like I should really be able to persuade people.
Nice. Excellent. With point buy, you would have 27 points with which to buy statistics, and you typically will want to maximize the skills that you are using the most often. The other skill that is important to add of the 6 of these is your constitution. That is your toughness. That is your hit points. And even though you don't add your constitution to anything else, it is how tough you are. So that is probably not something to have be your negative statistic.
Did we decide on whether to use standard array or point-based, or is that just a personal preference?
Personal preference. Up to you, how you want to do it.
Yep.
I'm still on race.
Okay.
I there's a thing at the bottom that says to choose a feat, and I don't know what to choose.
Aha. Okay. There are tons of options.
I've got
As a
3.
rogue, okay. What are your options?
Firearm specialist, grappler, and a word I don't recognize, magic. Svivert, SVIR.
Svirfneflin? Yeah. So you're not a deep gnome. So you're probably not going to pick that one. But you could. I mean, if you want to get that deep gnome magic. You will have an expanded feats list when I share content.
Oh, so I should just pick something and move on.
Pick something and move on. Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of great race rogue feats out there. Alert, observant. There's several, and we'll work on that. I'll work on that after the stream.
Okay, cool. So now I'm on
basically
class. Okay.
Great. It's basically what you want your character's expertise to be, right? It's like, sure, I'm a rogue, but am I a killy person rogue, or am I a rough people up rogue, or am I a pilfer things rogue, or am I a magical rogue?
Well, we will find out. Yes.
Great. I once played a campaign where we all played rogues, and it was great.
Nice.
It was really good. One of the rogues had the healer feat and was the party's healer and had no healing magic, but had the healer feat, and it was awesome.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we'll see. We'll see. I'm now looking at a whole bunch of like skills and proficiencies. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but we'll get there.
Yep.
You just read the options. So, like kind of like what I did, just read what it's asking you and then pull the drop down menu, give us your options, and we'll figure out which one fits your character the best.
Yeah. So as a rogue, you're going to want to prioritize your dexterity.
Okay.
After that, it's kind of up to you. Constitution is a good one to have, as is wisdom, because wisdom is your perception and insight kind of skill. And you don't necessarily have to be super strong or super intelligent. So you could use those as your quote unquote dump stats.
Okay.
As a paladin, your casting ability is charisma. So that is where typically you're going to want to prioritize. As well as strength and constitution. And of course, intelligence can be a dump stat as well. And traditionally, paladins are not super wise, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the way that you play it. I play a cleric, a paladin that has a super high wisdom, and it's also fun to play. So,
sorry, I didn't know we moved on to mine. What was the two you were suggesting?
Sorry, I'm just sort of playing jazz here. For a paladin, you're going to want to prioritize your charisma, your strength, and your constitution.
Okay, so what I did first, because I hate having negative modifiers, is I put enough points into everything to get them to 0. And then I have 15 points left to work with, and I will put them in those things. I feel like I would want a really high constitution, given that I'm going to be beating people up. So I think we're going to get pretty close to maxing that one out. Also, guys, the modifier score is even number based. So if you if I dump max points into it, it's 15. That doesn't actually help me in comparison to 14 total because they're both +2. So at 14 you get a plus, and at 16 you get a plus. So you can, in order to maximize the amount of bonuses you get, I would recommend even numbers to start. As you level, you get more points, so if it's odd, you don't get punished. You can then put another point into it later. But I'll put 14 into my constitution because 15 doesn't actually help me in the gameplay.
And your race will also dictate certain bonuses, and we can futz with those numbers as well. For a druid, your casting ability is wisdom. You're going to be very wise.
Yeah, I've got my wisdom and dexterity close to maxed out because I figured I'm already an animal. I should have cat-like reflexes. Does that make sense? And wisdom for the empathy factor. And I put charisma as my lowest because I figure I might have a hard time making friends.
Yeah, you're a weird forest person.
I am.
Charisma is often the lowest stat for druids because creepy dude who lives in the woods with a Radagast from Hobbit style. Just
living the
very
dream.
off-putting. Yeah, exactly. And then as an artificer, you're going to want intelligence as your primary statistic, whereas the rest of your party members may have intelligence as their dump stat. Intelligence is your most important factor.
So I went with standard array, and I started from the top: intelligence, then wisdom, then dexterity, constitution, strength, charisma.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Okay. Is this under abilities? I'm still under class.
Yes, you're going to want to go to page 3, abilities.
So before he moves on, let's try to help him get through these things and pick whatever you would like. So what is the next option you have that's blank?
Proficiencies.
Okay.
I have 4 skills I get to choose, I guess.
Let's hear them.
From acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, stealth.
Acrobatics seems good. What kind of character do you want to play? Do you want to be nimble and agile and jumping about, or do you want to be A little bit more brute forcey? What are you thinking for a rogue? When you envision it, what do you see?
Oh, acrobatics. It sounds. I don't know. It sounds like almost too crazy. I've never been good at acrobatics.
Sure.
Let's see.
So typically, when you are doing something that requires, let me put it this way: when you are climbing a building, you are gonna either use acrobatics or athletics.
Okay.
One of those two things. Athletics is a strength-based score, so you're like brute forcing your way up a building. Acrobatics is much more nimble; it's dexterity-based, and so
Okay, that sounds
that
roguey.
is how acrobatics is quantified. Yes.
Okay. And roguey seems like deception is a thing. Or
Yep. Makes
would-
sense.
I
would also say-
probably a thing.
Yep, absolutely. Stealth rogue. I'm shocked that they even make you choose it. It should just come automatic. Sleight of
I don't know.
hand is very roguey, pickpockety. Picking up things lightly.
Okay, cool.
And
so
now that's an option.
I have expertise.
Yes, rogue expertise. So as a rogue, you get to not only be proficient, you get to be an expert in something.
Okay. Deception, easy.
Perfect.
And I guess, oh man. I kind of like investigation. We might need somebody to go out and learn stuff. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Okay. And then sneak attack, this doesn't look like I have options. And thieves can't doesn't look like I have options. So I think I did the thing.
I think I
I
can
can
lost
move.
Ruben.
2 abilities? Aha! Made him disappear.
That my Discord.
It's
Okay.
a little bit too much deception, CGB.
Oops.
Am I
I'm a
back?
hacker.
Can we hear me?
You're back.
I
You're
can
back,
hear
Ruben.
you. I see you.
Great. Sorry about that. So yeah, that sounds like a great character concept. So where are we at, everybody? Are we looking at the same page?
CGB's
now
onto
I'm
abilities
on-
now, right?
Yeah, I'm on abilities now. So we did standard array, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then, oh wait, there's so many things.
You just have a budget. You have a budget of skills.
Okay.
And spend your money where you want.
Okay. Got it.
Just for your own personal edification, Gina, your constitution goes up by 2 and your strength goes up by 1 as a Leonin.
Yeah.
We can also alter those numbers around in a different way if that doesn't sound good.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Let me see what Warforged get.
All right, while you're looking that up, I put max, I wanted +2 to my strength, constitution, and charisma. My charisma, I think I get a bonus because I added that as one of my modifiers. And then I put a minimum +1 bump into intelligence and dexterity.
Great. As a Warforged, your constitution will go up by 2, and you get to choose where you put a +1 amongst the other 5 skills.
I see. Okay, well then I will change my ranking of Constitution. I'll bump Strength up to 12. Constitution will be the 10. That'll get the +2 up to 12. And then let's just throw the extra point into Intelligence, I guess.
Great.
Make that 16.
Perfect.
This is another thing we can adjust after you send us the stuff later, right?
Absolutely, yes. The Warforged and the Leonin, I'm going to have to send you guys anyway. And then the 2 humans, because you both have feats, I'm going to have to send them to both of you as well. So we're not going to be able to finalize the character sheets on stream until I share my content with you through D&D Beyond.
I wrote down what I picked in case I need to change it anyway.
Fantastic.
Also, if you verbally picked something and you kind of maybe forget or something, you will have the VOD and the YouTube channel video of this as well, which you could always reference
I didn't name off all of mine exactly, so that's why I wrote them down.
Okay,
Right.
great. All right.
So are we good to move to description?
I think so.
Woo.
Excellent. Some of you will get a new language choice here, I believe. The Warforged, I believe, gets an additional language. You all automatically get common, obviously. So you can choose something on top of that. And we don't have to choose only from the D&D language list. If there is a language that you think that you spoke in your homeland, then we can just add it to the list. Maybe like Spirit Kirin is a Kamigawa language, right? Maybe Demon. Maybe we'll just add Thieves' Cant to the Paladin because you're from Capenna. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Of note, Druids do speak Druidic, which is the secret language of the Druids that I've always imagined sounds like rustling leaves.
I also saw Leonin was a language option too.
Yes. So you speak cat.
Yay! Cat and rustling leaves?
Amazing. The vibes are immaculate. In the description, you will see that you can choose a background. Boy, there's a bunch of backgrounds you can choose from. So from a theory standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, where did your character come from?
Soldier.
Soldier. You were a soldier. You're a foot soldier of the mob.
I was in the military and then hired by the mob as an enforcer.
Nice.
As so many, people of that kind of background end up doing, like bodyguards or security, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm security for the mob.
So as a soldier, you are going to get 2 additional skill proficiencies, which are athletics and intimidation. So if you want to go back and change one of your skill proficiencies so that you're not doubling up on intimidation, you are allowed to do that. In addition, as a soldier, you have proficiency with land vehicles, which means you know how to drive.
Okay.
Give us a ride.
So
You also, sorry?
I have, when it says I get 2 bonus skill proficiencies, I actually have a drop-down menu. It's not limited to 2.
Oh, okay. Great.
So I don't have those 2 on there. I'm assuming because I already picked them.
Ah, yes. So D&D Beyond does a great thing where it says if you choose a background that you've already got and you've already got the proficiency, it doesn't screw you over.
Mm-hmm.
It lets you choose a different proficiency, which is great.
So team, do I want acrobatics, animal handling, arcana, deception, history, insight, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, performance, religion, sleight of hand, stealth, and survival? I'm thinking acrobatics as this like more military-y type person. Plus that'll probably help me because my armor is going to be heavy as all heck. And then also I'm thinking stealth, sneaky punch you in the face.
Sneaky paladin.
I think I'm the enforcer. I gotta sneak up on people to then break their kneecaps, right? Sitting in the corner in a dark room when they walk in and the light flicks on, that's me.
I love this.
I think I will pick Sage for mine. That seems to fit.
The other thing before we move on from Soldier is you get a gaming set. You know how to play either dice, dragon chess, a playing card set, or 3-dragon ante. Not that that will ever come up, but you do get to pick it.
I feel like my character would definitely get into some sort of poker gambling situation, so I'm going to pick playing cards.
Nice.
Be true to my history.
As a sage, you're probably also going to get a drop-down menu because those automatically come with Arcana and History. So you'll probably get to choose something
languages
new.
And Researcher.
Yes. So you get 2 additional languages as a sage.
So I've already got Draconic. Team, what do you think? What should the other 2 be?
Languages?
Yeah.
How many?
Languages.
There's probably a lot of options.
Oh, good heavens. Any language you could ever think of. in Dungeons and Dragons and
I
Magic
don't
the
know,
Gathering.
man.
So,
I don't know.
so break the wall a little bit, right? What is super common in Kamigawa and possibly in New Capenna? So maybe you could do demon.
Yeah.
I don't know how many demons there are in Kamigawa. Not very many. What else do we have in this particular world?
I don't see demon as an option.
It's
Abyssal. Abyssal would be the
Abyssal.
language. Yeah.
Okay.
If you deal with Higetsugu, then maybe that is a situation where you want to speak demon.
nice.
And one more.
Well, you speak with occasionally. One imagines you would speak with like spirits, so you could do something that's just Kirin language. Alternatively, you could speak computer, right? You could speak BASIC.
Sure.
Or
Binary.
JavaScript.
I don't see that on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like we just add languages. Like we just make stuff up. I speak Turkish. You know what I mean? Like the language is mostly guidelines, and the whole game is mostly guidelines, right? So anything that you think that you would be able to tap into, happy to make it work.
Okay.
You so basic.
Got him.
Moving on to for me, the character personality traits. There's I enjoy being strong and like to break things. That seems very, very enforcery. I'm going to add that.
Love it. Perfect. Does anyone else have a thought on their background?
I was going to grab Haunted
Okay.
one. It doesn't seem to come with too many options, but that's easier for me.
Haunted one, yes. You're haunted by something so terrible that you dare not speak of it. Incredible. You
Dark
get some skills.
past.
You get some spirit. You get some skills, and you get a language and an exotic language,
Ooh.
weird, which is
Okay.
just a subset of languages, but still interesting.
I feel like we're trying to like flip up the different languages we all speak, but I don't even like. There's so many. I
Yeah.
don't remember what everybody has.
I mean, I don't
So
know
you're-
if it matters too much. I think he's going to make the story based around whatever we have. So if none of us
Okay.
speak other
Yeah.
languages, it'll be very rare for us to like have a situation we can't pass without knowing that.
Right. Now, the
No,
other
we're-
thing that you
Add
could
some
do as a
leaves
party,
covered.
the other thing that you could do as a party is all choose a different language to speak so that you can speak it in mixed company. Right? This is another angle on the languages. Like, we all speak fucking orc. Who's going to speak orc in the party that we're going to? You know what I mean? So that is another way to use the languages.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I see.
So as for these personality traits, when I click add, nothing happens. What
Yeah.
should I expect to see?
It's fine. The personality traits don't need to be added right now.
When I clicked add, there was a little pop-up at the bottom that said added or something, and then it went away. So it might just be a thing that happens at the end. But also, I don't think they're relevant. You just play the story of the character. But it's cool to read them to get an idea of some of the things you're like, hey, I do want my character to break shit and be annoying.
Right.
And then,
These are role play helpers.
yeah. One of the things I think we're going to have a little bit of trouble with is alignment. This will be something that I don't think a lot of people have a ton of experience with, especially if you guys haven't played D&D or Pathfinder games in the past. And even my character as, you know, sort of a darker paladin, I don't know what kind of alignment I should be. So I'm wondering if that's kind of the next step, is for us to kind of discuss that a bit.
Sure. Ruben is going to go off on a
either.
tangent real quick. I don't believe in alignment. I think that alignment in 5th edition is an artifact of a simpler time when that had mechanical effect. In my opinion, your alignment is determined by the acts that you do as we play.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not focus too hard on your alignment. If it helps your role play today, well, I'm lawful good, therefore I do this thing. I'm lawful evil, therefore I do this thing. Then by all means. From a theoretical standpoint, the character as you describe it, Nerd Girl, would be lawful evil.
Yes, I picked right. That's what I thought.
But again, that is going to be determined by how you act in the game. A rogue from Dominaria, I would imagine, would probably be chaotic neutral, possibly true neutral, which is I do what's best for me.
Okay.
A druid who is in touch with the land and not exactly in touch with civilization, I would think of as chaotic good. The laws, they can say what they
I was leaning more
want.
towards neutral good, but okay.
Neutral good also works. Neutral good also works. The laws of the land, they can say what they want, but I know in my heart what is good, right? And as for a Warforged Artificer, your vision of what is good and what is evil is going to be significantly different than a living being's, right? You might not even fall on this alignment chart. Good and evil might have no meaning to you. You might be more like the whales from Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, where it's like what's evil and what is good is determined by if you can talk to whales. Like, that doesn't mean anything. That's like an entirely different alignment chart.
I was thinking that would make me lawful good because I have nothing to fill in the gaps, so I just fall back on the default for society, whatever that is.
Perfect. Yes. Going back to like Asimov's 3 laws of robotics and like that is my alignment system is cut and dried. Also fits perfectly. But again, those are suggestions, and you'll learn yourselves and you'll learn about your characters as you play. You'll get into a situation, where you're like, this law doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm not lawful, right? The thing I'm doing is running away when I could be saving someone. That doesn't feel good. So maybe I'm a good person, not a neutral or evil person. And you'll find these things, or the other way around, right? I kind of want to break this guy's kneecaps, right? As opposed to the person who already is breaking kneecaps. But I want to break this person's kneecaps. Maybe I'm a little bit more evil than I thought. So you'll learn those things about yourself as you get to know your character.
Okay.
Also,
is
Airball,
relevant? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I found further down the list, all the things that you added for those personality characteristic traits are in a list down below.
Cool.
And yeah, those are helpful tools if you need help building out your character.
So I picked folk hero for my background.
Perfect.
And survival is something I automatically get with that. It sounds like other people have chosen acrobatics, so I guess I don't need to do that. And it may or may not be something that comes with my character anyway. Maybe it's on your screen.
Well, the good news is that if acrobatics comes up, a lot of you are going to have to deal with it. Because if a rock falls, someone else being acrobatic isn't going to help you.
Yeah. So I thought maybe the fact that I have the nature thing would lend itself well to medicine, because maybe I could identify the things to make medicine.
Absolutely.
But then I wasn't sure what to pick for tool proficiencies. Like alchemist supplies seems like a weird thing for me to be carrying around, but there's a lot of things here, and I'm not sure what's actually helpful to the group.
Of course. The other cool thing that medicine does is that you can always do a medicine check if one of your allies is at 0 hit points. You can, instead of using any spell slots or instead of using anything else, if you make a medicine check and you pass the difficulty, you can just stabilize them, which means they're no longer actively dying, they're just at 0.
Okay.
So medicine's a great one. As for the tools are only going to be as useful as you want them to be. You want to have a pocket alchemist's kit, and you want to be like, I want to make some healing potions. We can do that. We can do that role play. If you're like, I got this brewery supply, I want to make some beer. Great, we're going to role play. I've got these jeweler's tools. I'm not going to give you a jewelry quest, right?
Yeah.
Unless that's a thing that your character is equipped to handle.
I mean, I could carve some wood. I don't know what I do with that, but it's another thing that seems like it could go with the
whittle in the
character.
woods. Yeah,
I'm
great.
just whittling for a hobby. I don't know.
Sure. Hey,
Okay,
maybe
I'm gonna
you'll
whittle.
find a situation where you're like, I have these woodworkers tools. Can I solve this weird situation with these woodworkers tools? That pops up all the time.
Funny enough, with the folk hero, I get rustic hospitality, which is hilarious because I have like almost no charisma.
Right. Yeah, they feel bad for you, so people let you sleep in their barn, but they don't let you come in the house.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm all caught up. I can start looking at physical characteristics next, I guess.
Just so you guys know the type of character you're going to be playing with, I just added a trait that says, I'd rather eat my armor than admit I was wrong.
Ooh,
Oh.
love it.
So, yeah.
These bottom 4 tabs, by the way, character details, physical characteristics, personal characteristics, and notes, feel free to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
That is all helping you, but they are not mandatory.
I have cat hair. Easy choice.
As long as everyone's chosen a background, I'm going to move on to equipment.
Okay.
The other stuff come back to, and it'll help you imagine who you are as a person, and it'll help you get into character, but it is not, those are guidelines. Those are not stats. I recommend that you just click equipment, and you start with whatever equipment they suggest. And you're going to have a couple of options. Like you can choose between like 2 types of swords, or maybe you can choose between like a shield and a weapon. And then you're going to get to choose between like either an explorer's pack or a dungeoneer's pack or a priest's pack, stuff like that. That is just equipment that you have on. It's a lot easier than starting with gold.
If no one else is carrying a wooden staff, I'm gonna do that.
Fabulous.
So I clicked
I
on
only
equipment. Oh, go ahead.
Good old walking stick.
I was gonna say I only see options for like the placeholder class that I chose, so I can't really be super useful here.
Right, exactly. Let me see what you would get as an artificer. Let me change that around real quick.
So it looks like I clicked the equipment tab, and it gave me chainmail and a holy symbol. I picked emblem. I'm thinking whatever my mob symbol is. And then I have common clothes, a gold pouch containing 10 gold. So I'm just going to add that to my starting equipment. And there's like an airship, like a bunch of random stuff.
What? That's crazy. Little tiny airship that you can just like walk around with?
I don't know. Maybe it's a real one or something. Yeah, 20,000 gold pieces. I could just buy an airship.
Jesus.
Is an
you
option.
have 20,000 gold pieces?
No, I don't. But that's like the next thing is a shopping list in alphabetical order, and apparently they just have everything.
Oh, I see. You have a shopping list of what you want, probably.
We always need 50 feet of rope, guys. Just saying.
Perfect. As an artificer, you're going to get to choose any 2 simple simple weapons, not just melee, simple weapons. When you close your eyes and you picture your guy, does he have something in his hand?
Tricorder.
A tricorder. Don't think any of these fit weapon for phaser. Right? I'm going to say some things, and then you tell me if any of these stick out to you as things that you feel like you would have.
Oh, okay.
Dagger, club, great club, hand axe, javelin, light hammer, mace, quarterstaff, sickle, spear, light crossbow, dart, short bow, sling. Crossbow? Okay. And you get one other option.
Javelin.
So javelin, perfect. Javelin and light crossbow. We did it. As an artificer, you'd either get access to scale mail or studded leather.
Oh, studded leather, of course.
Great. They already gave you a light crossbow, so you actually get something else in addition to a light crossbow. How about a boomerang? I'll give you a boomerang.
Just a man with a boomerang.
Fabulous. You get a boomerang, a javelin, a light crossbow, and 20 bolts, studded leather armor, thieves' tools, and a dungeoneer's pack. Oh no, this is for I have the folk hero up, is why I'm doing this. What was your background? You were a sage?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let me click over to sage. Because some of the equipment it was giving you was folk hero equipment. All right, so we're going to go light crossbow, boomerang, javelin, studded leather armor, thieves' tools, dungeoneer's pack, a bottle of black ink, a quill, a small knife, a letter from a dead colleague posing a question that you've not yet been able to answer, a set of common clothes, and a pouch of 10 gold pieces.
Sweet.
Some very flavorful stuff that no one ever uses, but there you go.
Mine came with chainmail, but no weapon. And I was looking at like a great sword or something, but they're way too expensive.
As a paladin, they didn't give you a weapon option?
So I went to equipment and it said chainmail plus holy symbol. Oh, there's a check box for it. No. Deck of cards I get. A dagger. Or a broken blade. Soldier starting equipment. Or a piece of a banner. Not great options. I guess I'll take a dagger.
No, that would be your background's equipment. You should also just get
Paladin starting. Yeah. Oh, I see.
Right. Paladin starting equipment.
I saw the chainmail one was automatically checked and the other one wasn't.
Got it. So you're going to choose an emblem, right? You said?
For the chainmail, that was automatically checked. And then martial weapon and a shield. I feel like enforcers don't have the shield.
Okay.
Maybe mono attack.
Great. 2 martial weapons. What do you feel like? You can start with the great swords or a great sword. Because great sword is a 2-handed weapon.
Seems reasonable. And then I get any simple melee weapon, dagger, explorer backpack.
So you could get a great sword and a, great axe or a hand crossbow, something along those lines. And when you fight, you just wield the great sword.
Okay. I could do longsword and dagger.
You could do longsword dagger, absolutely.
So I could be either greatsword or am I proficient to do longsword in one hand?
Yes. You should, as a paladin, you should have access to proficiency with all martial weapons, I believe. So, for example, you could just have longsword, greatsword, dagger if you wanted, because it's giving you the option of 2 martial weapons and 1 simple weapon.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you would have a deck of cards and some clothes and some gold. And then you can look at your character sheet, which is pretty great. Once the requisite options are looked at, you should just be able to look at kind of what you have.
So many things on this sheet.
There is a lot.
Oh,
There's
my lord.
I've got a spear, a dagger, and a wooden staff for my druidic focus.
Fabulous. Warhammers are great for busting kneecaps. I just saw that in the chat. And then, yeah, we can, whatever you think that your character would have already, just like stuff you have, we'll just add that to your inventory. If you think that you would have like a guild insignia, great. If you'd have a magnifying glass, awesome. Small hand mirror, awesome. Ball bearings, how many do you want? Like, you are equipped as a group already to do a job for some important people. So this is just the starting equipment from a D&D character sheet option. Whatever else you think that you would have is more than able to be at your disposal.
And we can also, I would have added that if I had thought of it. This is, obviously season 1, most of our first games, so we can, don't be too stressed about making sure you're ready for your journey before we go. Plus, we have some gold, so we can actually buy them in the game.
Right. And then once you know what your mission is going to be, maybe you'll go shopping. Maybe you'll be like, oh, we have to go kill some goblins. I should probably get some binoculars to go look at them with. I don't know. I was just, again. You get my point. So let's see. Now that you have an idea of your characters and your character sheets, put the character sheet aside for a moment. And we're going to role play a little bit. Just a little bit. How much time we got left?
20, 30 minutes.
20, 30 minutes. Let's role play a little bit.
If we ended a little early, that would also be okay too.
Okay. Well, first of all, does anyone have an idea of what their name is?
No idea.
Not there yet.
You don't have to.
Oh
You don't
my
have
gosh.
to. It's fine. You don't have to know your name yet.
People will call me
We'll
Jen.
work on that later. Jen. Okay. Jen, we're going to start with you. We're going to do a little experiment here. Tell me about something that happened in Jen's life that was a formative experience.
Of course, it's got to be my time in the military, on Capenna fighting. I don't know what the Capenna people are fighting, but I did it. I wasn't a very informed soldier, apparently. But then when you get out of the military, what do? I've spent my entire life fighting. So I got picked up by the mob and worked as an enforcer for them. And that's my life now.
Great. Who was your boss? Describe your boss. Doesn't need to be a name.
I'm going to go on a limb and say it's Obnixilis or some Obnixilis type character.
Okay.
And that's where I learned to speak Abyssal.
Excellent. So I'm going to do some casting real quick. Who wants to play Obnixilis? The 3 of you.
Oh boy.
It's got to be CGP.
All right.
Gotta be.
CGB, I need you to embody a demonic gang leader for me.
Sure.
Just get in that mindset. Get in that motif.
Mm-hmm.
You, and then the other 2 of you two are going to be henchmen. In the same office, we're having this is going to be a recruiting meeting. Where maybe there's a ruffian from the street, and invent a character, right? However you want to play this scene. We're just doing some improv. And you're trying to get paid. You're a freelancer right now. You're trying to get a little bit more clout so that you'll get a little bit higher up in the business. And the 3 of you, Jen and person B and person C, are coming together to do a job.
Okay.
Airball, who are you?
In the context of the scene or my character?
In the context of this scene.
I'm Obnixilis's right-hand man. I don't trust the newcomer. I'm going to keep an eye on
Great.
him.
Excellent. Gina.
I am that woman who sits on the edge of the desk and judges everyone.
Nice. Jen, you've been called into the office of the big boss. And you've just been... You were given a job to do. Perhaps break some kneecaps, perhaps find some information. Whatever it is that you think that job was, think about that. And you have successfully returned from that job. And you're coming back with the information or the materials or whatever it is that you were tasked with getting.
Okay.
Let's start the scene.
So I'm walking into essentially CGB's office, I'm guessing.
Yep, walking into CGB's office, well appointed, nice velvet chairs, overstuffed.
Okay.
There's a portrait of him above the fireplace.
just
One
CGB
assumes.
with the shades.
Yep. Not even demon, just actual CGB is above the fire. No. But yeah, you walk in and there's a woman in a slinky dress with a large glass of red wine. There appears to be some sort of buff henchman who's, I don't even know how they tailored for a suit this big, but he's wearing a well-tailored suit and he stands arms crossed off to the side.
All right, so I walk in. I got the job done, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk in. I'm going to put this head-shaped satchel on CGB's desk.
I wrinkle my nose distastefully.
Hey, I had a
jump
job
in
to
and
do.
inspect it.
You know, the rival gang was causing some problems, and I can tell you they're not going to be a problem anymore.
So that's it. It's in the bag?
It's in the bag.
How do I know for sure that you did this? A lot of people were after him. How do I know you're not just trying to weasel your way into the organization?
Well, even if I didn't do it, let's say somebody else took this guy out for you. Hypothetically, I then took them out to acquire this head, meaning I am still the better candidate.
You think you could take out just anybody that you needed to? Do you think you could handle Bub here? My battler? That's short for Beelzebub. He's right here.
Yep.
We call him Bub. And
Given enough time?
he doesn't trust you. He doesn't like where this is going.
Given enough time, I think I could.
Sounds like a mercenary, sir. I don't trust her.
It does sound like a mercenary. Your background, you're a soldier. Soldiers are trained to just be one of the crowd. An ant serving a queen. I don't serve a queen. I need to know that you can walk outside the lines.
Well, in this case, you're the queen in this scenario, but I am definitely one of your leaders. And in time, you will see that.
No way. No way. She can't walk in here, put one head on your desk, and take over everything. She needs to prove herself.
Boss, I don't trust her.
Well, let me ask
then
you
let's
this. How many heads on your desk will it take?
Depends which heads.
Give me the job.
And we'll call the scene there. Great. Perfect. I love it. Okay. Gina, did you have a name or did anyone have a name for the woman on the desk?
We didn't give her one.
I'm just asking. I
Let's
got
call
Bub.
her Samantha.
Samantha. Great. That may become relevant at a later point in the story. So, anyone else have any thoughts on where they've come from or a thing that has happened in their past that is formative in the character that we've just developed?
Yes, of course. So I can't talk about it because it's dark and really bad. But let's just say in that moment, I saw the truth about human nature. I saw the truth about this world. And it's cold. And it's wretched. And it's all I can do to face it every day.
So let's say whatever it was where your dark thing that you did in your past occurred. and you have left wherever that event was. Be it a building, be it a field, be it a restaurant, it doesn't matter what it is. You're moving away from it, and you are coming up to some people that you know, perhaps, or perhaps some strangers. How do you envision the moments after this terrible thing occurred?
Okay, so thing happened.
Right, you could be. Are you leaving a building?
Oh man. Sure.
Okay, leaving a building. Is it rural? Is it urban?
Urban.
Urban. You're leaving a city.
Yes.
You're walking out onto the street. Is it raining? Is it sunny?
Sure. It's totally raining. Yeah.
Raining.
Yeah, it's dark too.
Who's out on the street?
Lots of people just going about their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing to be worried about, not a care in the world.
Airball. You are a busker. You're a street performer.
Okay.
You see this sullen gentleman exiting a building. And you are, hoping to get some tips, but you see that this is a troubled soul.
Yes.
And CGB, your character is attracted to this musician for whatever reason.
You cannot help but notice the quality of my bongo playing in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
People come from all over to hear my bongos. And you're no exception. It warms your cold, withered heart to hear the pitter-patter of those drums.
I'm not
I beckon
smiling.
you forward.
I just picture Bongo Cat just.
I beckon you towards me. Come out of the crowd. Step right up. Play a bongo with me.
I'm not smiling because
You
I
will.
like those bongos.
My smile's
smiling.
ingratiating.
Nope. I'm smiling because I know the truth. That those
Truth?
bongos play you.
They're
Yeah.
enchanted bongos. It's true, I'm a fraud. But no one else knows that.
As the two, this is the new show, the bongo player. As this conversation is happening, you're like getting up in his face, and there's sort of a little bit of there's palpable consternation here. A pair of guards of whatever city that we're in notice that there might be a fight about to happen, and they come up on the scene, and that's the two of you.
I don't like being accused of not playing my own bongos. Say that to my face.
What's going on here?
This guy's saying I can't play the drums.
I'm not saying he can't play the drums. I'm just saying there's more to it. And don't worry, officers. There's nothing to see here. Just another regular evening in the city.
CGB. Is there any physical evidence on your person as right now of whatever occurred?
Like, do you have blood on you?
You have blood on you. Is there mud on your boot? Is a coat ripped? Is there something like that?
Sure, yes. There's we can go with little bit of dried-ish blood underneath like the hood where the rain isn't hitting it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Guards, you see that.
Sir, whose blood is this?
It doesn't matter anymore. It's not anyone of your concern. I can promise you that.
It's the concern of the law.
If you're a murderer, it kind of is. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't like his bongo playing that much either, but
Come on.
I think we need to
Not worth killing anyone over.
we need to address this situation, sir. Can you tell us what happened, or we're going to have to detain you.
He's not in danger. We're all in danger. And the only reason that you guys are all right now is because I stopped it. And that's all that you need to know about the situation. Now, can I just get away from these wretched bongos?
I feel like we need to question him and take him to a holding cell.
I think
None of this is
so.
comforting me.
It's not comforting, and he sounds a little off his rocker. So, sir, we're going to need you to
He needs a
come with us.
timeout.
It's
already been
a long day.
The guards begin reaching for you as if to detain you. What do you do?
I contemplate drawing my weapon, but I realize I just don't have the patience, so I'm going to go with it for now. But
Okay.
I'm also going to I have a way to like prepare myself, get like a lock pick in underneath my freaking coat, just something like that.
You're a
I'm just
rogue.
going to slip that into my hand, so I'm ready for later.
Great.
So the guards will escort you to some sort of paddy wagon. And then they will, the horse-drawn carriage will be on its way towards a police precinct. And the guards, when they exit their driver and passenger seat of the paddy wagon, the back door is open and you are nowhere to be seen.
Dun, dun, dun. And I
that's
holler,
where
play your bongos, bongo man. Go ahead.
And
Thank
we'll say
you,
that
play
the bongo player saw all of that.
And I dust
And
myself off and ask the crowd for requests for the latest bongo hits to play.
Great. We'll call the scene there. I'm excited for whatever that is to happen. Call back to the bongo man. We got 2 people left.
I think I should have a scene with someone training me how to bond with animals. Maybe like some sort of a mentor or something showing me the ropes.
When you picture your mentor, what do they look like?
They're a lion person.
They're another Leonin of your pride,
Yes.
and they are
then-
teaching you how to be in touch with
Yes.
nature.
Yes. Older male Leonin. I am a little bit impatient in trying to learn the skills, and he's been trying to teach me to slow down and be one with nature.
Great. Would you like to cast your older Leonin teacher?
CGB, would you like to be my mentor?
Okay,
Great.
I do it.
Dojo style.
Yes. And if you are learning how to deal with animals, what animals are you learning with or from?
I think right now it should be something very small. I think I'm trying to commune with a mouse.
Great. There are 2 mice. And their names are Airball and Nerdgirl. And that is who you're role playing in this scene. And go ahead.
It's not working.
Why do you think it's not working?
I don't know. Are they too small? Are the brains too small? I don't understand how I'm supposed to connect with something so small.
It's not the size of the animal that matters. It's your own. It's the way that you connect to the animal on an equal playing field. The animal is no smaller than you. Your mind is no smaller than the animal's. You must meet them on equal terms. Take this mouse right here, for example. Do you see this as an inferior creature, something beneath you, something that you could never understand? Or is it another part of our world, another living thing? How will you connect to this mouse on equal terms. Think about it. Envision it.
I suppose we both struggle to survive out here.
Look
So
at
I
it.
get
Look into the eyes. Look into the eyes.
Mhm.
You know this mouse's story. Its struggle mirrors your own.
I get very quiet, very still, and I take lots of deep breaths in and out, like I was taught. I'm entering a meditative state, and then I open my eyes once more, and I look into the eyes of the mouse. The mouse's whiskers are wriggling around. It's doing the thing where it cleans. It's cleaning its paws. And I just tried to send my intention toward the mouse and just try to meet it on the same playing field. And now I'm just listening. I'm listening to see if the mouse has anything to say.
All right. Well, Airball's tail gets a little too close to me, so I get very angry and start trying to like nip at him and squeaking very angrily.
Yep.
So you don't have you don't have the connection with me yet. So if you'd like to try to calm me and stop me from biting off Airball's tail, you can try.
Okay. I'm sending a vision of a peaceful meadow to you in my head. I'm visualizing it. I'm trying to send it to you to make you feel safe and calm.
Mm.
I see that this particularly feisty mouse is messing with the vibe here. Allow me. I send a vision of an enormous plate with a wide spread of cheeses into the mouse's mind.
Ooh.
Easily, effortlessly, because I am the wiser sage. Boom.
Oh, that sounds delicious. That's way more distracting than trying to fight Airball.
Yeah. So you have one mouse who has been quelled of their chaos, and another mouse who appears to be more receptive. The mouse who appeared to be more receptive, you make eye contact as the feistier mouse appears to have been distracted for the time being, and you sort of are about to be nose to nose. And you have a little moment. And it looks like, Elder, that the student has figured something out.
You feel it, don't you?
Yes. Like, this mouse and I were not so different. This mouse has an intelligence that I really didn't consider in the beginning.
Yes, I do.
And then the mouse says words.
I am the elder mouse.
I hear him. I get a little too excited and lose the connection for a second. And then I'm like, whew, I gotta calm back down. I zone back in. Like, I'm listening. Tell me about your troubles, mouse.
And then as you zone in, you also hear, cheese.
Mm-hmm. We'll call the scene there. That's good.
Thank God. All right.
I'm excited for the elder
Thank
mouse
God.
to make an appearance. Plus friend. We have one scene remaining. How do
Okay.
you see where do you come from? Where were you made? Where were you made?
Well, I don't know where I was made, but I do know that I am some variety of android, and I have been drifting from ship to ship in some flotilla. And there is a captain who is asking his crew to do some terrible thing, and he has reprogrammed me in order to do it. And there's a mutiny.
Okay, can you tell us exactly which Star Trek episode this came from? I need an episode number.
No, they're all pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking Big Hero 6. Actually.
Oh, perfect. We've already had CGB playing two main characters. Let's see. Gina, I'm gonna have you be this evil ship captain. And then you said that there were other members of the crew here? Or
Yeah, there's
what?
a mutiny going on. The captain wants me to fire on civilians or something.
Got it. Okay. So, Gina, you're the captain that is getting mutinied.
Mm-hmm.
Nerd you are leader of this mutiny. CGB, you haven't decided which side you're on yet. You're willing to be swayed, and Airball, you are your character. But it is very tense on the bridge of this ship.
All right, so CGB,
Okay.
we cannot let her get away with this.
That's my captain you're talking about. What the captain says goes.
These are prisoners of war. And you know what? If I could take them back to our mainland, I would. But we're running out of supplies. Do you want to run out of oxygen here on the ship? Do you want to run out of food? We can't afford to feed these people anymore. They have to go. They have to go out the airlock.
This conflicts with my programming. I will not do it.
They're not prisoners of war. They're just civilians. Like, we cannot just kill them. We can drop them off somewhere else. We can relocate them. I mean, we shouldn't have picked them up if we didn't want to deal with them. They are just civilians. They're not warriors.
In so many years, I've never disobeyed a captain, but this is an order I don't know if I can see through. You should have the android do it. They don't have feelings anyway.
If we allow the android to do it, we are still at fault. Him doing it or us doing it doesn't make a difference.
I'm the captain, and it's my decision. If I go down for this, I will. But I'm going to save the crew either way.
Well, you're not going to be the captain much longer.
Airball, your synapses are firing in a manner in which you're not familiar with, because your directives have always been clear. Underneath the captain and underneath the strata of organization, it has never occurred to you that there could be a situation in which the captain's orders were wrong in some capacity. But your programming is somehow evolving, somehow changing, and you're seeing that there is something different. There is a difference between what is good and what is right, and what is lawful and what should be lawful. And all of this is going through your mind as you can sort of feel yourself as a robot without sentience, or not exactly without sentience, but as a automaton on a path, taking these people to an airlock. But you also feel something akin to your mind awakening and giving yourself a different type of decision. What do you do?
I grab the prisoners by the backs of their collars and start leading them down the hallway to the airlock. As they're begging...
I'm going to grab at them and try to push him.
I'll
brush you aside.
them.
Okay. A fracas occurs.
Stand aside. The captain has given me orders. I will carry them out.
The prisoner that was getting grabbed at bats a hand away. One of the guards of the ship under the captain grabs at the starting of the fight. There's a fracas that is developing here, all while you're having this internal struggle, Airball, as you're trying to do the job that was given to you. But you feel as though that there is an opening here for you to be the crux point of whatever this scene is.
Why do you all resist? The captain has given orders. The course forward is clear.
Captain is wrong.
Don't spend your time trying to talk to him. Just push them into the airlock and hit the button. Seal the hatch. Just get the job done. It's horrible, but get it over with.
I know that this is the worst, but it needs to happen for the survival of the rest of us.
But why is our survival more important than theirs?
Because we are programmed as humans to take care of ourselves first.
Then why
we don't need to take care of this other group.
Why'd you take the people on in the first place? You always planned this, which makes it a horrible, horrible plan.
Look, it's not my fault that we got in that fight and part of the ship got shot off and we lost some of our supplies. We would have had enough, but we don't anymore. It's over. They need to go.
It just needs, this just needs to finish. Look, if the android won't take action, I will. And I'm going to try to push him aside and get to the airlock button to blast them into space.
I'm going to keep struggling.
I'll grab you by the arm and hold you back. If human nature is to save yourself at the expense of others, then why does Lieutenant Nerdgirl take pity on these prisoners?
I'm just in shock that the robot would try to stop me. Like, it's never occurred to me that it even has a will of its own.
And at this point, the same thought occurs to everyone of how is this possible? How is this Warforged that was programmed for a specific purpose able to operate outside of its programming? And in a moment where it looked like there was going to be a battle, people were putting their hands on phasers, people were getting ready to enter combat, something occurs to everyone where they're seeing something that no one has ever seen before, which is a artificial intelligence waking up for the first time. And everyone is silent and stares. And that's where we'll cut that scene. I hope that those scenes gave you a little bit more insight into your characters and where they come from and what their intentions are and where they might be going. I like to do those little tiny scenes without skill checks, without anything else, so that people can just get used to what they're doing. And if you want to do more of those, we can do more of those, but I'm good with one each.
I think that's good. That puts us at the 2-hour mark. I do want to say, of course, we added phasers.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Very, very
You knew what you
silly.
were getting when you invited me.
Yeah, laser guns, whatever. When we go to when we do Kamigawa, I'm sure I'll. So wait, this was a spaceship in Kamigawa? I'm clarifying here.
Some kind of ship.
Okay,
Not necessarily a spaceship.
We're preparing for the Unfinity set.
Oh, perfect.
Ooh.
We can do that. That's perfect. I love that. Nice. Cool.
All right. So, how is everybody feeling after our first, dip into role play stuff? That sounded more inappropriate than it was meant to.
So far, so good. Nothing but fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, quick, little wrap up here for us. Ruben, do you want to tell us what we can expect going? What will the opening of episode 2 look like?
Yeah. Well, would you like for me to just spoil what the story is?
No, just more because we have players who've never played before.
Okay.
This was very improv-y. Is it going to be more specific to our character? Just, do they need to have dice? Do they need to have,
Sure. Yes. You're going to want to have dice. You're going to want to have pen and paper or a notepad open on your thing and use a dice roller of some kind. You're going to want to have water, obviously, to drink and to make sure that you stay hydrated and are able to play. And we'll only play for 2 hours. I'm not planning on there being a break, but if we'd like for there to be a 5-minute break in the middle, we can do that. And I'm planning on just rolling basically right into the story as we start. The 4 of your characters will have already known each other. You've already been a team for some amount of time. And perhaps we will get the story on how you all met at some point, if you'd like to. If you'd ever like to instigate a flashback, feel free to say, I'd like to have a flashback where we met each other or something like that. But I'm planning on the first episode, just getting the ball rolling right away. I'm going to give your team a mission from a planeswalker that exists in the universe of a thing that they can't necessarily handle right now.
Nice.
All right. So that wraps up episode 1, guys. This is going to be an 8-part series here for New Capenna, and then we will plan to plane jump to another world, probably Capenna. So if you guys are interested, make sure you guys keep following along on the Degens social medias. Also in the information section below the video, you guys can find all the links that you need to find all of our players, as well as our wonderful DM. And then hopefully we'll be able to put some of the like character sheets and stuff up for you guys, so you guys can follow along and track those as the episodes go. Thank you very much for joining me, guys, and all of you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in episode 2.